So if we're going to rethink governance, we have to rethink the vote, since that's the one act that the greatest number of us participate in to govern ourselves. And today, the only thing that voters are asked to do is to vote for someone. There's about as much communicative content in that choice as there is in reading an X in a box. So I'd like to suggest some ways that we can expand the meaning of a vote to improve it both as a signaling tool and as an empowerment tool. And I don't want anything that complicated. There's proxy voting, there's liquid democracy. These are intriguing experiments, but my sense is they demand too much of people. I'm just interested in some common sense ways that we can make voting say more. So, first question, why do we force people to vote yes? Today, if you want to express your dissatisfaction with one candidate, the only way you can do it is by voting for the other one. So, first idea, let's include none of the above as a choice on every ballot. And let's require a new race with new candidates if none of the above gets more votes than the candidates running. We have this in Nevada, but it's not binding, by the way. Or if you want to take a more elegant approach, why not give us the ability to vote -1, not just +1, right? I may have only one vote, but why not let me cast it against someone to reduce their total vote? And then the candidate with the most net positive votes wins. And of course, if nobody has any positive votes, that's none of the above, but it's a more elegant way of getting there. This is called bipolar voting, by the way. The point of being able to vote no is to actually give voters veto power over a process that today is barely in their control. Through gerrymandering, politicians pick their voters before the voters pick them. And through extensive polling, they figure out what to say to voters to make it appear as if they're actually listening to them, when they're not. And as a result, most elections feel like they're over before Election Day, as Nate Silver, by the way, proved. Okay? And no wonder we feel like the democratic process has become hollowed out. A third step to improve the voting signal is to open up the exit polls. Why do we force the diversity of opinion that all of us have through this very narrow filter of 4 or 5 multiple choice answers to explain what your priorities were when you went to vote? In other words, I'd like to see a system where we can leave a comment with our vote. And then instead of just trying to parse an exit poll for a whole country with just 15,000 people, we might get a very nuanced and complex picture of what millions and millions of us have to say. Now, in the age of information scarcity, you couldn't do this, but today this would be as simple as Facebook, Google+, or the government itself just saying, add a comment to your vote. A fourth way to expand the meaning of the vote is to allow us to rank our choices. That's a process that would allow more candidates to run without risking spoiling a race, and that would also allow us to express a wider range of preferences. And most people don't know this, but we used to have a system like that in America, variation on that. Until the late 1800s, we had a vibrant multi-party political system with third parties contending for power in most states and voter turnout in the mid-'80s. Back then, the whole political system was less regulated than it is today. The ballots were actually printed by the parties, not by the state. And thus groups of voters could break off and start new parties quickly and cross-endorse the candidates that they wanted to support without spoiling. This is, by the way, how the Republican Party came into being and why Abraham Lincoln was able to become president. Today, the ballot is so regulated by the state that it has become one of the major ways incumbent parties lock themselves into power. So I think it's time we deregulated the ballot and opened up the vote to let voters say more.